So hey guys, my name is Alicia Cologne. I'm a paper illustrator and photographer, and today I'm really excited that we are going to be making something for CancelCon. First thing, I want to make sure that this is paper craft, and so recently, if you guys have been following along, what I've been doing now is I've been modeling everything in 3D. And so in the 3D program that I specifically use is Blender. So the first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to add a circle. I'm going to go ahead and get a cube. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move that along the y-axis. This whole thing is actually pretty big. It doesn't need to be this big, so I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit smaller. Again, I'm going to move it down to the y-axis, and we are going to grow that along the x. Go ahead and do that on this side too. So I think if I do this 90 degree and then here. So I'm going to go ahead and select this face and move it inward a bit, and we're going to go ahead and move it that way. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and select the whole entire thing. So the way that I remember them is that I think X for stop, and so that's red, and a Y for green, which is go. So anyway, so I want to pull this up kind of right here at this line. Now, if I'm having trouble seeing, I can kind of change everything into like wires. I'm going to select the whole thing, and we are going to scale along the y-axis. So now that is done, you can kind of see that's the wireframe of it all. You can see that there's definitely, it's not going all the way to the bottom. I'm going to pull that face down all the way to the bottom. All right, so now that we have that done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into Object Frame. I'm going to Shift D. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of those things. I would say this whole thing needs to go back. Of one being higher than the other. And actually duplicate this. So Shift D. All right, let's do it this way, 90 degrees. So I need to select this face. Yes, I need to move it out, make sure that it's even. As we are going to subdivide, and what subdivision does is that it essentially adds more geometry and more points for us to mess with. All right, so we did 4. We're going to do that over here too. Now this, on the other hand, doesn't keep going. There's not an edge on the other side, so I can just select the edge loop. I'm going to have to select this edge. To do this cleanly, I'm going to delete all of those vertices. We're going to go into object mode. I'm going to pick the thing that I want to be cut, go into my modifier and say like, okay, we're going to go to Boolean or whatever. I have difference. I want to select this guy. There you go. And now you guys can see that there is a hole because I clicked difference. Just do it again, the next one. This is a Mac app, and I can go ahead and I can select what I want to make. And what it's going to do is that it's going to change it into a paper template for me, which is really, really cool. And so over here on the left hand side, I can kind of rotate it so I can see all the way around it. I can select what I have over here in the template, and I can see like over here in blue, this is what I am going to create. Is I end up having to separate things in order to get things to cut. Now, I mean, I'll rotate them, right, to be able to put more than one thing on an 8.5 by 11. But I go through this and through everything, and then once that's done, you go to File, Export, SVG, and you click all the things that you want to export. So I don't want the page border, I don't want the flat fill, I don't want the face fill, I just want the cutting line and the ridge and valley fold lines, and I want to optimize for CNC. The next thing that you would do is that you would take those file images and you would load it into your Cricut. And you have to tell the machine what is scoring and what is cutting. This was a really small file, and so I decided go ahead and just move forward into the Cricut. Chaos is done. All right, so I have some of our pieces already cut. I have the white piece, and then I also have the black piece. All right, so this, and there are two different kind of folds here. You have mountain folds, which again, you're folding away from you and it ends up making the peak on the top, right? And then you have valley folds, which then what happens is that instead of pulling the paper away from you, you actually, or pushing it away from you, you're pulling it towards you. And what ends up happening is that the peak then is on the bottom. I have my glue, the little bar that goes in the center. All right, so you guys just saw that those were mountain folds, right? I pushed it away from me, but now I'm gonna be pulling these in. And now, once I have my anchor point, at this juncture, I can go ahead and start putting the glue everywhere else. But now we have our black, and it's done. So this one's like kind of glued together, but I can pop out this piece. I did do the photo shoot already, and we will be looking at those images really, really soon. This is called Capture One. All right, so this is where we started out. This was actually just using the lighting that's in my studio. That one's pretty cool because you can see the fog, you can see that it's coming out, it's trailing, and you're kind of going like, what the hey, what is all this? I don't know. We're gonna do a 1:1 square ratio. First thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to duplicate the layer, and we're gonna go ahead and start taking care of some of these unsightly things. Heal tool. And I will generally use that more than a lot of other things. Now you guys can definitely see the craftsmanship over here is like stellar. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. You want these pixels, so notice that my cursor changes, right? So whenever I hold down Option or Alt, this like crosshair comes on, all right? And that's where I'm saying this is the source from where I want you to pick up the pixels. And what it does is that it reads the corresponding pixels around it, calculates the average of tonality and texture, and therefore ends up putting it in there. Where if you end up doing a stamp tool, so this is a really good place to do a stamp tool. That they have Pathfinder tools. So essentially you can union, you can intersect, you can difference your lasso. You can also feather it as well. Go ahead, I'm gonna click subtract. I'm also going to increase my feather to 1, largely because this is a very blurry section. So I have one or two ways that I can fix this. I can either try to, I hit S for my stamp tool. Here, I want to just clean this up a little bit. Now I want it to be a little bit harder. I'm going to fix this whole bottom. Actually, let's go ahead and blur. All right, and now we need to go ahead and start cleaning up some of these tabs, okay? All right, so we have some glue here that we need to use. Remember, for that, I definitely really like my stamp tool. Once we're done, we're gonna start coloring this bad boy. I'm gonna pen tool. Is that we are going to make this selection, right click, selection, and we're gonna do 2 pixel feather, and we are going to invert that selection in a mask. So now what's happening is that we're seeing the things from below in that area. So I'm gonna duplicate that layer, and I am going to, so instead of covering this up, I actually need to clean up this edge. So let's go ahead and go back to our stamp tool. All right, and then I'm gonna add this texture to it, which is a paper texture. It's an action that I've already created. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a selection again. I'm going into my stamp tool. We need to go ahead and start fixing this stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and crease all of my good stuff. So right now I'm gonna select my whites, and I just wanna clean up my whites really. We select color range. We wanted to select, but at the same time it's still reflecting, so you have to be really careful as to like increase the layer strength and add it back in slightly, but not to the full effect. All right, so now I'm just gonna like go back and clean up some of these places. Now again, I want the reds to reflect because I mean that is natural. That is why, like, it is natural, and I think it would look weird if we removed it all together. So again, just removing the, like, whites reflect light, but light is really friendly in that it will throw color. 3 lights on this, and now it was surrounded by red, so of course that red just jumbled all over the Cancel Con image. In order to kind of clean that up and pop it out a little bit, we had to certainly I just inverted the whole entire mask instead of the I guess whenever I first painted this, I didn't have a 100% opacity brush. I'm just in a hue and saturation with the saturation all the way red, all the way on the down low. And I have it, I'm just playing around with the mask right now. And I think the only other thing that I see really is kind of like this edge right here that I might want to just sharpen up a little bit. And then I'm going to just do one more once over, and then it's done. Okay, so thank you so much for hanging out with me. Bye!